Alright, also look, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video, we're gonna be talking about the People's Champion, America's Champion, and Donald Trump's favorite fighter, Colby "Chaos" Covington, and his all of a sudden disappearance from the sport. The man who was once one of the most elite title contenders within the welterweight division to now a shell of his former self, who is still somehow ranked within the welterweight's top 5? So that, to me, kind of brings up the question, where the hell is Colby "Chaos" Covington? And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share so you can help me reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the summer. I'll deeply appreciate you. And make sure you join the official UFC Discord, link in the description. Alright, so look. As someone who still considers himself a Colby Chaos fan, albeit no longer a diehard supporter like I once was, I can't help but feel like there's a very real possibility that we might never see Colby Chaos Covington fight in the UFC ever again. And, you know, to be honest, it's kind of a hard pill to swallow, but after being inactive for 21 months following the infamous incident where Street Judas blindsided him at a steak warehouse, ultimately shattering his face, Colby Chaos Covington made his long-awaited return, and what did he come back to? One of the most undeserved title shots in UFC history, which culminated in what many would argue was the worst performance we've ever seen from Colby Chaos in his fight against Leon Edwards. And now, while the Street Judas Masvidal attack certainly played a role in Colby Chaos's long hiatus, the real reason as to why he was out for so long wasn't just because of his injuries. It was because he was actively avoiding fighting any of the top contenders within the welterweight division. And, you know, let's be honest here, the top welterweights were lining up and Colby didn't want any type of that smoke. And now, as a 36-year-old going on 37 years of age, past his prime and fresh off the most embarrassing performance of his career, do we really think he's eager to step into the cage with these new killers within the welterweight division? Guys like Shavkat Rakhmonov or Jack Della Maddalena. Those are tough, dangerous matchups that at the stage of his career right now, I don't see him taking on those risks. And you know, for a while, I actually believed that Colby Chaos was maybe kind of serious when he called out Ian Gary. I thought, finally, here's a fight that actually makes sense for Colby. It seemed like an interesting stylistic matchup with a built-in storyline of animosity that would generate tons of interest within the MMA community. Colby's trash talk was at an all-time high, and I thought that this fight was a double done deal. But then, to my surprise, as well as my disappointment, Colby Chaos ducked Ian Gary as well, and at this point it's becoming a pattern that I ain't messing with. And now, I'm sitting here wondering what Colby Covington's next moves will be. He can't keep squatting on his rank forever. I mean, either the UFC give him an ultimatum, forcing him to fight or risk losing his ranking, or they just cut him from the organization altogether. Even Colby's most loyal fans are getting tired of his antics as well as his inactivity. And you know, what's truly mind-boggling is that despite all of this, he's still ranked within the top 5 in the welterweight division without even beating anybody who's currently ranked within the top 10. It just doesn't even add up, you know? And, you know, at the end of the day, what really messed me up about Colby Covington's career wasn't his personality or his act. In fact, it was the opposite. I think his persona, as well as the trash talk, the way he embraced that villain role was what initially drew me to him in the first place to begin with. And I thought he played that role perfectly. He knew how to sell fights, generate headlines, and bring attention to himself, which at the end of the day, put money in his pockets, and you gotta respect him for that. I get it. It was a means to an end, and it all worked. But what ultimately killed Colby Covington's career for me, and a lot of the MMA fans, was his inactivity. It was his refusal to stay active. It was his reluctance to fight the up-and-coming contenders that really sealed his fate for me at the end of the day. And nowadays, the narrative behind Colby's name is that he was quote-unquote never really that good, or he was an overrated fighter, and I just don't agree with that. And before his fights with Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington was the #1 ranked contender, and both of his fights with Marty from Nebraska were nothing short of spectacular. Those two fights were absolute fireworks and some of the best we've seen in the welterweight division till this day. And personally speaking, they're in my top 5 fights of all time. In fact, I think those fights deserve a spot in the Hall of Fame. I mean, if Silva versus Sonnen is able to get a spot in the Hall of Fame, why can't these ones? And look, I'll always believe in that one quote, that if Kamaru Usman never existed, Colby Covington would have been the undisputed welterweight champion of the world. He was that good, and in his prime, Colby had grade A elite level world-class talent as well as ability, and I will always stand by that. And you know, at the end of the day, his downfall wasn't because he lacked talent. It was because he didn't stay active. It was his refusal to fight the next generation of contenders. And you know, when we look at his resume on paper, it's filled with names that were once considered elite. We've got names like Rafael dos Anjos. We've got names like Damian Maia, Robbie Lawler, Tyron Woodley. But if we're being honest, most of these names weren't in their prime necessarily when they fought Colby, but the thing that most of them have in common were that they were former champions. And now, you know, Colby has kind of seemed to have shifted his focus toward politics rather than fighting. It's almost as if he's kind of checked out of the sport entirely. He doesn't seem to be as interested in his UFC career anymore, which, you know, at the end of the day is kind of heartbreaking to witness. Because to see a fighter you followed and supported from the early stages of your MMA journey fall into irrelevance, no longer caring about or competing at the highest level, it's, you know, kind of sad. So here we are, watching one of the most polarizing and entertaining fighters in the past decade slowly fade away. And the question I'm left asking is, where did all the years go, Colby? What happened to the guy who had all the potential in the world? The guy who was on the verge of becoming a world champion? It, you know, feels like we've watched his career unravel right before our eyes, and now we might not ever see him step into the octagon ever again. But that's all I've got to say for this video. Let me know in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on Colby Chaos Covington, and do you guys think he's going to make a return to the UFC? Do you think he's going to fight someone like a Shavkat Rakhmonov or Jack de la Maddalena? Ian Gary maybe? What about a Marty Usman trilogy? Let me know in the comment section below. But that about wraps up the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.